Y'all, what is Marvel doing? What's up, you guys? It's Jonathan Carter here with another J. Carter Movies, and today we are going to be talking about Agatha All Along episodes 1 and 2. Agatha All Along is a MCU Disney Plus show that is a spin-off of 2021's WandaVision. It picks up 3 years after the events of WandaVision, and it follows the witch Agatha as she breaks out from the spell that she was put under at the end of that show. Now, just talking about Marvel and the state of the MCU before we get into this show, Marvel did have a big win with Deadpool and Wolverine critically and box office wise. And it seems like the MCU is back on the upswing. But I wasn't the biggest fan of Deadpool and Wolverine, and one big movie, one hit doesn't necessarily put you right back on track. So, in my opinion, the MCU, Marvel Studios, is still kind of on the back foot, and when they release projects, movies, shows, whatever that is, they need to be big hitters. They need to be nearly perfect, or at least with love and passion put behind them. And so far, just based off of these first 2 episodes, Agatha All Along is not that. From the trailers of this show and following the backstory, the production of everything, I wasn't very interested in this show, and in all honesty, I probably would not be checking it out. Well, 1, if it wasn't for this channel, but 2, if it wasn't MCU related. While I was a massive fan of WandaVision, WandaVision is one of my favorite projects to come out post-Endgame, or just one of my favorites in the MCU in general. But that doesn't mean I was in the camp of thinking that this side character, this villain from WandaVision, needed her entire show. This show was created when Marvel was just greenlighting everything it could because of Disney Plus. Get all these characters out. Let's get as much content out as we can. This is probably one of the few shows that survived those days, especially now as Marvel is kind of downsizing and realigning what they need to create to get back into the forefront, being the premier studio that they are. You can definitely feel like Agatha does not need her own show. All of that aside, let's get into this review with the positives. And before we get into all of this, please be sure to like and subscribe. That would really, really help me out a lot. Starting this one off, Kathryn Hahn and Aubrey Plaza are doing a good job here. They are good actors, and they are working very well in their source material. I enjoyed Kathryn Hahn's performance in WandaVision. I think she was a very strong aspect of that show, and so I could see why someone would think to give her her own show, because she is a very natural performer. She is very well-rounded in her acting, singing, dramatic abilities. And in these first 2 episodes, especially in the first one, that is very much on display. And same thing with Aubrey Plaza. Aubrey Plaza doesn't need, any mention here of her talent. She is incredible, and their relationship established in the first 2 episodes, I think, is what's going to pull me through with this season. Speaking specifically on episode 1, episode 1 plays as this mystery detective FBI kind of thriller where Agatha is still under the spell in WandaVision, from WandaVision, and she's trapped in Westview in this world that Wanda created, and she is playing this detective, this police officer, trying to solve this murder. So there is a mystery throughout the first episode, but unfortunately that only carries throughout the first episode. That's kind of fully abandoned by the second episode. But the first episode was very strong in that, and I was fully on board of my favorite aspect of WandaVision was the mystery. We didn't really know what was going on until the back half of that show, or really only till the last 2 episodes of that show. And the first episode of Agatha All Along had heavy mystery WandaVision vibes, and I was fully on board for it. Unfortunately, that only lasts about 30 minutes, and then it's kind of abandoned. But the opening of Agatha, of the first episode, and the theme of the first episode are top tier. I was very much on board with that aspect of the show. Finishing out the positives, the show looks good. From a CGI level, it looks good. There's no complaints there in the first 2 episodes. So those are the strongest aspects of the show. Bringing us into the mixed, I'm not really sure who this show is for. If you are an MCU fan, maybe you wanted an Agatha show, but maybe you're like a lot of other people that want stronger entries. They want to feel the connective tissue of the MCU. And so far, these 2 episodes of the show don't provide that. The 2 episodes feel very far removed from the MCU, and I know at one point that might have been a good thing when everything was so intertwined, but I mean that in a bad, mixed way. It feels like, what are we really doing here? What is the story? How does this relate to anything? Is it carrying us forward in the narrative that we're trying to connect with all these different movies and shows? It just feels so tonally misplaced, and the first 2 episodes tonally are all over the place. The first 2 episodes feel like different shows. Like the first episode is very much like, hey, let's reel you in with this WandaVision mystery storyline that you remember from that show because everybody loved that show. And then the second episode feels more of like what the season is going to be, what this show is going to be, and it feels very different from the first episode. And I don't like when shows do that. A lot of Disney Plus MCU shows definitely do that. The most recent one being Echo, where there was such a strong opening with the Daredevil and the crime scene and Kingpin and Mafia, all that stuff. And then the rest of the show was totally different. And I can feel that here with Agatha. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I could definitely see the show doing that, where it hooks you with the first episode. You think this is going to be the premise, and then psych, episode 2 and the rest of the episodes are going to be totally different. And it's not very clear where the show is going. And bringing us into the negatives, I'm not feeling where this show is going at all. And specifically in episode 2, the characterization, the plot line, already it's all pretty weak. The plot follows Agatha trying to cross this road into the Coven witch territory, break out of the spell, get her powers back that she had in WandaVision. So she's trying to get a coven together over, especially the second episode, of different witches, different characters. So you're introduced to these many characters that are all these former witches or whatever they are, but it's not very clear who they are, what they are, and maybe that will be revealed in the coming episodes. Again, I don't want to jump saying that, who knows what's going to be revealed, but off the bat, these characters that you're introduced to, besides Agatha and this mysterious teen, who is probably one of Wanda's children, that's going to be my guess. They're trying to keep it this mystery. All the other characters don't really have characterization. They don't have personalities. They don't have, you're just like, yeah, they're former witches. Come join my coven. Oh, I don't like Agatha. They have animosity towards her. And then that's it. And then you have that one neighbor from WandaVision, from that 70s show, that returning character who's not even a witch, just coming along on this journey. While the show has some spooky witch vibes and some humor and maybe some songs here and there, it's just not clear what this show is and why it has not justified to me in the hour and a half already of its runtime why it needs to exist or what it's really doing. So closing this one out, I am not a big fan of Agatha All Along so far, as you can tell from my review. I'm going to stick with the series solely for this channel to review it, and because it's MCU, territory. But if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't a part of the MCU, I would not be checking this show out. I would not be giving it the chance that I am giving it, and I think that says enough for people that maybe are on the fence still with the MCU. Should they check it out? Should they not? I'm straight up going to go so far with skip this. Skip the show. If by the end, in 7 weeks, this show turns out to be amazing, or halfway through it turns out to be amazing, I will let you guys know. I'll put out another review. But as of now, I'm going to review these first 2 episodes, watch the rest of the season, and then do one big review at the end. I don't really feel like covering this one weekly. I don't think it's going to get the traffic that it needs to. Nobody seems to be talking about the show or interested in the show. And again, that's not me trying to dog on the MCU or jump to conclusions with this show, but that's just my take after the first 2 episodes. I'm not really hopeful for this one. I wasn't hopeful going into it. Nothing has changed my mind yet. We'll see, though, maybe halfway through the season. But all in all, skip this one. I'm going to give the first 2 episodes of Agatha All Along a 5 out of 10. There are my thoughts on it. If you've seen the show so far, let me know what you're thinking about it. Did you agree with my review? Did you disagree with my review? Please, again, be sure to like and subscribe. That would really, really help me out a lot. Leave all of your thoughts below in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, I will see you guys on the next one.